Kufa kwenganga, kufa kweguna, oyo yo, oyo oyo, oyo oyo. Kufa kwenganga, kufa kweguna, oyo yo. Mwana walila, mwana walila, mwana walila, mwana walila, Thokozani, please tap the screen, family. Let's keep tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Let's get up in the algorithm. You guys can hear me. That's great. Kufa kwenganga, kufa kwegona, mwana walila, mwana walila, Thokozani, Thokozani, Kamagwini, Lesedi Hanya, Tobela, Ndaweshewe, Kwaziwai, Habari Gani, Kedu, Muribwanji. Yo, I hope I got them all. Thokozani, Thokozani, Hotep Royals. So I am back and I want us to talk about something that's really important. That's a phenomena that I think a lot of people may be experiencing but don't actually know what it is. And the question is, do spirits have a smell? This is very important to know. And the answer is yes. They don't have a smell in the sense that they have a smell, but they can create a smell, right? They can create a smell. I'll give you some examples of what I mean by that. So, for example, there are many people who experience an ancestral presence or the presence of an ancestor through the smell of flowers or the presence of a spirit guide, a gentle spirit guide. It's usually the smell of flowers or the smell of perfume. From my personal experience, my dad, when he shows up, and he doesn't show up often, my dad can show up once every 2 years. But when my dad does show up, my ndumba, my whole space will smell of Old Spice cologne. Who remembers Old Spice cologne? Old Spice. It will permeate this whole place. And there is a brand of cigarette that you can't even get out here in the US. It's a Zimbabwean brand called Kingsgate. The whole place will smell of Kingsgate cigarettes. Sometimes I will taste Castle Lager on my tongue. Castle, you guys know Castle, the beer? Yeah. So, yes, and yes. From my own personal experience, I can tell you definitely that the spirits or ancestors have a certain smell. Let me give you another example from my own life and from that ancestral aspect. When I'm supposed to do umsebenzi, or when my ancestors would like me to give an offering of traditional brew, my whole space will smell of umqomboti. that fermented smell of grain will fill this whole space till I can't ignore it. It will start off as, you know how when you just move and you smell something, you're like, okay. And the longer I ignore it, this if I ignore it for a few days, it just becomes more and more and more intense. And with me, they start then showing me visual signs. I'll be cooking in the kitchen, maybe I'm washing rice, and suddenly I'm looking and I'm doing this because the rice has turned into amabele, which is millet, brown millet. Not physically turned, but for a moment there, that is what I will see. And of course it's rice. And then, so they have ways of communicating, and smell is definitely one of those ways in which your ancestors will communicate with you. Okay, whether it's because they want something, whether it's because they just want you to know that you're actually around them, whether it's because there's something you need to do or to take care of, right? They do show up. They use all of our senses, guys, right? They use our sense of smell, our sense of taste. They use your eyesight. They use your hearing. I think I've done a video where I've talked about the ringing in the ears and what each type of ringing signifies. So they will use all your human senses in order to communicate a spiritual message to you. So it's very important to be awake and to be aware of such things. Now, that's an ancestral aspect. Now, there are negative entities that have a smell. For example, if there is a smell of rotting flesh that you can't see anywhere, there's no flesh, there's no rotten meat in your fridge, there's no rotten meat, your cat didn't bring a dead rat and put it under the bed, like you search everywhere, but you cannot, the smell is there. And those kind of entities, usually it's not just one person who smells it. The ancestral smell is very different. For example, my kids can come in here, and I will initially, before I figured out what was going on, I would say to them, guys, can you smell cigarettes in here? And my kids would look at me like, no, why do you smoke? And I'd be like, no, I don't, but there's definitely cigarettes smell. My kids wouldn't smell it. When it comes to negative entities that have invaded your space, most people in the family will smell it. It'll be smell like rotten meat. It could be a smell like of sulfur. You know that boiled egg smell. It just lingers. And you can spray all you like. You can deodorize all you like. That smell doesn't go away. It can be a very musty, dusty smell like mold. It smells like mold, like literally like if you guys know musty clothing, when you've kept clothes that are damp somewhere for too long and then there's just that musty smell, very intense musty smell, but you can clean up your whole place and it'll still smell like that. That is one sign that there are negative entities in your home, is when you have these horrible smells, but there's no reason for them, right? That is your sign that you need to cleanse your space thoroughly, because living with negative entities in your home is the worst thing you can ever do for yourself. Because number one, they lower the vibrational frequency of that whole space. People in that whole space start to feel sick. Some of them start to feel depressed. Some of them start to feel really tired. Sometimes they cause a lot of conflict within the home. Everybody was getting along fine. Suddenly now people are fighting all the time. In those kind of spaces where you've got negative entities, appliances tend to break down a lot. First your dishwasher, then your washing machine, then your kettle, and you fix them and they break down some more. Those are some of the signs that, you have a negative entity in your home. So you don't want, if this smell persists and persists, do a home cleanse, right? Do a spiritual home cleanse and see what happens there. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that. What else can I tell you about these entities and smells? Yeah, the smell of smell of sewage. That when there's no burst pipe anywhere and everything is going fine, negative entities tend to carry that kind of smell with them. What else? I'm trying to think of examples. Right. So here's a tip for those of you who are moving home, right? There's a house that you like, you've seen the house, you want to move into that house, you're very excited. Some of the things to look out for to see whether your house is haunted or not, those smells. Because ghosts, so when I talk about negative entities, I'm not just talking about a category of entities. I'm talking about general negative entities, low vibrational entities, or tigoloshi, or mantindane, all those mkovu, negative entities, low vibrational entities, just spirits nje that are negative. They ilwane, right? They have a definite smell about them that is not a pleasant smell. So now here you are, you're house hunting, your realtor comes and says, oh, I've got a nice home. It's a bit of a fixer-upper, not too much. Come and see it. One of the things you can do for yourself is look out for such smells. Because a home that has been prepped to be put on the market should not have any funny or lingering smells. Look out for those smells. That's why, you have to be conscious, fully conscious, all senses awake. Look out for those smells, right? Look at the vegetation around the house. How is that vegetation growing? Because the presence of negative entities at a space also affects the vegetation. A lot of the times you'll find that the trees there just look dull. If you look at the bark of the tree, it's almost like it's got a mold. Not just, lichen. Lichen is a sort of, it's like a mold that grows on trees naturally, especially the older trees. This is a different kind of mold. It's like you look at the tree and the tree looks like it's sick. And if you look at its leaves, they look dull, right? Look out for mold along the wall on the outside, right? There's no water leakage. You can't, because sometimes, a wall can get moldy because there is a leak somewhere. Maybe there's a leaking pipe within the wall and you can see that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just outside on the walls. If you look sometimes at the bottom and going up, there's like a film of mold. Those things are usually signs that there are negative entities on that property. There is usually a certain darkness to the house, even though there are windows all around and there should be light coming in, right, on a bright day. When you walk into the space, there's a darkness to it, a shadowiness to it that even feels heavy. I am very quick at picking up things like that. When I was house hunting, I could just, by driving into a driveway, looking at the house, I'd be like, because you can tell that by the time we're stepping in, I'm stepping out. I'm like, no ways, I'm not going into this place. They're negative entities and they're spirits all over this place. Negative entities in a space tend to also, they will literally, they will age a place. Like a place will start to feel like it's a cemetery almost. It feels old and ancient. And even if you were to move into such a space and you started doing things to try to brighten it, it would always have this shadow over it. It would always feel heavy. And if you have small children, your children are most likely going to start either having sleep paralysis, they're going to start dreaming weird things. Suddenly your children who could sleep in their own rooms at night, they're suddenly saying, Mommy, I'm scared, I want to come and sleep with you. And most people will put it down to, no, we're in a new place. They're not yet used to it. Watch that behavior, because if it persists, or if the, if the bad dreams persist, or they wake up in the middle of the night having had a bad dream, that's another confirmation that this place that you're in has negative entities. I always say to people, when it comes to home buying, it's not always easy to find out the history of a place. However, if you can, through either your realtor or someone else, find out the history of the place, who lived there before, what happened in this space, did anybody die in this home? Because there are a lot of people who leave their loved ones because they don't do the rituals to move the spirit to the final resting place. And so that spirit stays in their home. There are some spirits that loved their particular home and don't want to be moved. So you can't move those ones. Those are the ones who then haunt the place. So now that that place is haunted, it's not just about negative entities around. It's now about a person who is a spirit saying, this is my house and no one else can live here. And those homes too have those same hallmarks. People move in and out of that home. Find out how long the last people who lived in that space, how long they stayed there. Some people they last 3 months at most and they're out. 3 months out. Some people a week, they're gone because of the presence of a ghost or this entity that says, this is my house and nobody else is allowed to live here, right? Very important things to look at because there are a lot of things that happen on a lot of these properties. People who are looking to buy things like farmland, be very careful. Be very careful because unfortunately, particularly on the African continent, particularly in South Africa, Amabhunu were killing, unaliving people like you and me on their farms, their farm workers. A lot of these plots and places that people are buying off of Boers have our kind buried on there. And of course, obviously they died in a horrible way and they were just buried probably in some shallow grave somewhere. The signs are usually there that they are spirits that are not happy in this place. I've heard of a family that found this place. They bought it off of a white person. They moved in, but they've known no peace since they moved in. Then suddenly the father started getting sick. The hospital couldn't diagnose what was really going on with him, but he was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker until finally they got a medium to go to this particular place. And when she got there, she was like, oh my God, there's been terrible bloodshed. There are people's graves here. There are our people's graves. There are people who are buried, and some of them are foreigners who are buried back there. This brings me to another issue that is very important, particularly for us on the African continent, and the issue of spirits that are roaming around. One of the problems that we've had, and a big misdiagnosis, is sometimes a spirit will come through somebody to speak, to say who they are. Then when they consult, say a spirit comes through me and speaks and says, I am so-and-so, I originate in Zimbabwe or in Malawi or in Tanzania, I came here to work, and then this farmer killed me, and. The problem that many people are making is that there are a lot of these spirits in Southern Africa, displaced migrants. You will go to a healer who's inexperienced and who has little knowledge, and they'll tell you have umdao spirit that you need to initiate. That is false. That is why the narrative that umdao in South Africa particularly was somebody who was a foreigner, who then came and worked for other Africans, and then as he was working, say, for AmaZulu, AmaXhosa, they promised to give him land, and then instead of giving him his land or giving him his cows, they unalived him, and now he's become part of the family. There's no way. That is umdliwa. That is a foreign spirit that is not supposed to be initiated. There are ways to deal with those kind of spirits, but ain't nobody supposed to be initiating. So there is a falsehood around a particular type of spirit there. And many people are finding themselves initiating imidliwa, which is not a good thing, because ultimately those spirits cannot do you any good. Ultimately, those spirits will cause havoc. Ultimately, those spirits interfere or mess with umsamo wako, which is your bloodline ancestors. You cannot initiate someone from another bloodline into your bloodline. Do you hear what I'm saying? So please be very careful out there, especially for the ancestrally gifted. Do your homework. The Umdao spirit, Mandau, are a group of people. They are found in Zimbabwe. They are found in Mozambique, northern Zimbabwe. They are a particular group of people who live in a particular way, highly, highly skilled in medicine. So there is a whole history to do with those spirits. And the reason that some of you who consider yourselves Unguni or Amanguni have to initiate that spirit is because they are related to you bloodline somewhere along the line. Remember, I always say we are all one. Just because you only know your ancestors generation 1, 2, 3, it doesn't start and stop there. There are ancestors generation 1 going all the way back to generation 2000. Do you get? So there's no way along that entire line there would not have been some migration and intermingling. So stop boxing spirit in and telling yourself that because I am Zulu or I'm Xhosa or I'm Karanga, there's no way I can have this kind of spirit. There's no way I can have, because you don't know how far back your lineage extends. What needs to be done is a proper consultation. If you have family that are still alive, elders, start to ask them. For you to end up here in Zimbabwe, where did you start out? For you to end up here, KwaZulu, where did you start? You'll find that people who are settled in a particular place now may only be there 3 or 4 generations, but prior to that, they moved from somewhere else. Because remember, we didn't have borders. We didn't have all these artificial boundaries. So very important to know what's going on with you ancestrally and lineage-wise. But I thought I'd mention that particular spirit there because this is where people make a lot of mistakes. And you end up, say you live in a house where there were people in your yard that were killed, a spirit comes through and starts talking because they want to be shown a way back home to their family, meaning there are rituals that can be done to accompany them back to their family. Instead of doing that, people get told, oh, you've got Umdao, you need to initiate. Disaster. Total disaster when that happens, because that can shut down Umsamo for lifetimes. So need to be very careful out there how you do things, how you move. But yeah, I hope this was useful to you guys. Remember, stay on the lookout. Use your sense of smell. Sharpen that sense of smell. Somebody in your spiritual entourage could literally be trying to talk to you through your sense of smell if you have not been listening with your ears. So, Black Nation, love you.